Welcome to the Republican Women Fighting to Take Back America podcast. I'm Martha Jenkins, President of the National Federation of Republican Women, and I'm glad you're with us for an important conversation about one of the most fundamental issues facing our country today, election integrity. I'm joined today by Nicolee Ambrose, Maryland's RNC National Committee woman, a proud member of the Republican Women of Baltimore County, and a founding member of the RNC Election Integrity Committee. Nicolee has been on the front lines of ensuring our elections are transparent, secure, and worthy of the public's trust, and she brings both experience and clarity to a topic that affects every voter in every community. In this episode, we'll dig into what election integrity really means in practice, what Republicans in Maryland are doing right now to protect the process, and the latest on the Maryland GOP election lawsuit, why it matters, what's at stake, and what citizens can do to stay informed and engaged.
She's fighting to take back America. It's time to take a stand. She's fighting to take back America and let your voice be heard. She's fighting to take back America and make her proud again. Oh, the movement has already begun.
Nicolee, thank you for joining us. Let's get started.
It is wonderful to be with you, and I cannot thank you enough for all the work you do and to all of your membership, and most of all for this focus on election integrity. We just can't have a free, fair country if we don't have free, fair, and transparent elections. So thank you for your focus on this.
Well, thank you for everything that you're doing. So describe to us some of the problems in Maryland's past elections.
Ooh, the list is long. Where do I begin? We could be here all day, but I'll try to just give you a few highlights. For starters, the state has not been following basic federal law, the National Voter Registration Act of 1993, which compels states to keep their voter rolls clean. Maryland only seems to have agreements with about 25 states. Those states which participate in ERIC do not track people who move to the top 4 states Marylanders move to. We don't track. We're looking at up to 103% voter registration in some counties in Maryland, which is obviously not possible. Marylanders report, according to the last U.S. Census, that we have a 75.6% registration rate. So we are looking at over a quarter of our rolls might be incorrect. That equates to 1 million extra names on our voter rolls. And it's not just that. After COVID, they changed our mail-in ballot protocols. So anyone can order anyone else's ballot with a name, address, and date of birth. We have no signature verification. We have no voter ID. So anyone can have anyone's ballot sent to another fax number, another address with no protections whatsoever. And then the list goes on, depending on how elections are run at different boards of elections. We've got a lot of chain of custody issues and other challenges with our ballots. And then it comes down to questions like in a recent election, although we have 4 million voters registered, they ordered 19 million ballots. So just very strange situations that go on and on. But those would be a few of my top concerns.
Well, that sounds to me like it goes a little bit beyond strange and goes to voter fraud. I know that an election lawsuit has been filed. Can you tell us about that lawsuit and what it's alleging and which of the problems it's intended to remedy?
Right. So one of the top issues we're focusing on right now, in December, the Republican National Committee, the Maryland GOP, a wonderful gentleman who's been chairman of the Montgomery County GOP, Reardon Sullivan, and I filed as plaintiffs against the Maryland State Board of Elections on on our voter roll problem. We had a PhD in data work on this, and had a great, basically we sent in a 90-day notice letter. That's what the NVRA requires, that you have to give the offending party 90 days to cure the situation. They did not. We got a kind of flippant response. And so we filed in early December saying, please just follow federal law. Please just follow the National Voter Registration Act. Please clean up our rolls. And you have to realize this leads to real world problems for people. So just to give you a few examples, we have people who moved to other states and Maryland will not take them off the rolls. So if it's a house, sure, their parents might keep getting their ballots. And we have 2 cases of just good friends of mine. So imagine, let's extrapolate this out, where the younger folks, in one case a child, in one case a nephew, moved away and then received bench warrants for their arrest for not showing up for jury duty, because Maryland would not take their names off the voter rolls. So they were called for jury duty, never knew, and then got a bench warrant for their arrest. Just imagine you have a job with a security clearance. In one case, one of these people is a mother of 3 children in Texas. Imagine that person's driving down the road, gets pulled over for a taillight being out, has their 3 children in their car. The sheriff or police officer sees a bench warrant for their arrest and hauls them off to jail. I mean, these are horrific real life situations that the state of Maryland just seemingly has no respect for its former residents, and obviously no respect for our elections.
Well, that's just crazy. I mean, terribly crazy. I can't imagine being in that kind of a situation where you get pulled over for something like that and they realize that you have a warrant out for your arrest. That's just crazy, not to mention all of the other problems that are occurring because there's too many people on the rolls. So I know Maryland is not the only state with this kind of issue and these kinds of problems. What would you advise Republican women in other states on how to get involved and how to work on, especially if they live in blue states? How do they work to change some of these practices that are not in accordance with federal law?
Well, the first priority we have out right now is the SAVE Act. In general, I have to say I'm not for the federal government being involved in elections, but I absolutely am for requiring voter ID. So I think it's a great idea that we pass the SAVE Act and require voter ID. We've just required real ID for everyone in America. Why can we not require that real ID be presented to vote in a federal election? This alters, this affects how we all, how our House of Representatives, how our Senate, how our president is elected. That impacts all of us across America. And I think it's just incredibly logical that we require ID to vote in federal elections. And guess what? We know everyone agrees with us, right? This polls generally over 80% that people agree with us of all walks of life on this topic. So I hope there are enough sensible Democrats that come along with Republicans to vote for voter ID, because everyone in America wants it. So that is number one. And if you have state laws affecting that, if the federal law for some reason doesn't go through, it is an absolute priority for us to get voter ID passed wherever we possibly can. Number two, there are just ways we have to participate in the process, no matter what the color of our state. And in Maryland, we call it serving as an election judge. I think to our south, one of the states calls it an officer of election. These are the officials who are there when you go to vote, whether you early vote or vote on election day, or whether you're a mail-in ballot state and you have people at headquarters processing the ballots. We need those citizen volunteers. A lot of states call for what we call parity, meaning you have to have an equal number of Republicans and Democrats. Republicans often don't fill those slots, and we need all of our Republican slots filled, because that's who will safeguard our elections and be that first line of defense. So that's incredibly important, that wherever you are in the country, you step up and serve as an election judge, officer of the election, whatever you call it in your state, a poll worker. please serve as the person who helps monitor those ballots.
I agree with you 100% on that, Nicolee. I've actually been the chief election judge in my precinct for about 10 years now. And every election, there's additional training. They want to make sure you don't forget anything. And it seems like the Democrats always send observers to my precinct because as a Republican, I'm the chief judge and they don't trust Republicans, obviously. And there's never been an occasion where they've caught me doing anything wrong because I make sure we follow the law and we follow all of the parameters around voting, and all of their observers leave and say, well, you were so fair. We didn't expect you to be fair. And it just kills me. But you're right. It's so important for us to be there on the ground. And the election judge is the best person to stop in-person fraud on election day. It's, of course, a different matter with the mail-in, and that's another whole issue, which, we need to reduce the amount of mail-in ballots whenever we possibly can. But Nicolee, let's go back to the lawsuit for a minute. Exactly what is the status of that? Where are you in the process? Or has it? I know it's been filed, but has it been heard by a judge or in court? And what do you expect is going to happen?
So I think we have a ways to go on this lawsuit. Probably the most exciting development was that the Democrat National Committee joined the lawsuit as to defend the Maryland State Board of Elections not following federal law and not maintaining our voter rolls. So it's remarkable how they view this as a partisan issue to defend a state agency for not following federal law. So that is the interesting situation we find ourselves in right now. But can I add on the other topic we were talking about for election judges, I have to give a huge shout out to the Republican National Committee because they've had a Protect the Vote initiative, which I'm sure so many of us have been a part of in some way. But we have partnered with them on a pilot project to basically make sure we can help sign up more Republican election judges and make sure we can track their progress, make sure they're assigned a slot and advocate for them. And I have to tell you, some states might think that sounds really easy, but in a state like mine, our election judge signups in many parts of our state, we're just going into a black hole. So people would volunteer, they would want to help. They would never hear from anyone. We wouldn't know if the sign up actually happened right. And we have this pilot program where we are helping track it with the help of the RNC. And thus, because we know where things are, we can advocate for people and follow it every step of the way. So huge props to the RNC for just constantly innovating and having the best election integrity department we could ever possibly hope for. As you know, as you kind of mentioned in the intro, we did not have we were banned actually by a consent decree out of New Jersey since 1982 from participating in elections. That expired a little while ago. The RNC kind of first tried to change this in 2020 after that consent decree expired, but we had no muscle memory. So we had to completely design all of our kind of election day, election integrity operations from scratch. And as you could tell from the results of 24, we are finally have hit a stride, have not only a great election integrity committee, but then a department too. And we are just firing on all cylinders. And I am grateful for our team's work.
Well, thank you, Nicolee. And not to claim too much credit for it, but North Carolina, my home state, is the home of Michael Whatley. And I know he brought a lot of the election integrity into the RNC, and we appreciate him doing that.
He's phenomenal. Yes.
Just thank you so much for being with us today. We certainly hope that your work will inspire other Republican women to get involved in their states to help protect election integrity. If you're watching this podcast and you are not a member of NFRW, please go to nfrw.org or email us at membership@nfrw.org. Also, Please like, share, and subscribe to the Republican Women Fighting to Take Back America podcast on YouTube, Rumble, and Spotify. You can also find NFRW on Facebook, Instagram, X, Truth Social, and TikTok. Again, thank you, Nicolee, for being with us today. Thank all of you for watching, and we'll see you next week.